Hi everyone, Nathan here from JS Powersports. It's going to walk you guys through a little bit of what we do when new tanks come in here and we're getting ready to install them, and then also cover some fuel delivery issues. May have to break this video apart a couple times if it gets lengthy here. Tanks come in, some of them do not have anything covering them up at all, so we want to make sure we clean these out, get them all free of any possible plastic debris, because it's got to feed down through 90 degrees in small little ports sometimes, and we want to make sure that there's no plastic that's stopping that from happening. The fuel tanks from Polaris come with a fuel line, all the guts and stuff that you see here, and a pickup filter. Other tanks from like Trail Tank and so on do not come with them unless you order them from us in a complete kit, and then we'll give you all the rest of the guts that go along with it. So what I do on the big tanks is flip them upside down and just kind of knock them around on the table a little bit, bang on them. You can blow some air through them if you want, and just try to get any possible plastic chunks and anything else, debris, anything from manufacturing, just get it out of there. And the next important thing that I like to check for is the indexing of the fuel line here. Let me just tip the tank up quick to get to the back. You'll see, if you can see this, there's a shadow here. This tank here, this line is touching the top of the tank, and even when we lay it down, it's still not on the bottom. So if that's installed at approximately that angle and that end of that fuel line's clear up here, it's not going to pick up fuel. So what I like to do is index a line correctly so that it's coiled up like a snake, and then it just carefully swings out with the fuel, follows the fuel around inside the tank, laying flat the whole time. Now over time, this would be pushed up here against here, of course, but over time, this piece here and the screen down here are going to wear out, and those will need to be replaced along with the line. You know, check it every 3 to 4 years by sticking a coat hanger down through here and grabbing the line and pulling it back up and having a nice inspection. And remember, if you're around ethanol fuels or anything like that, it's going to dry out even faster. And replacing it with the proper line, the proper guts and so on is highly recommended. Do not go to a hardware store and buy some clear line that looks like fuel line. Most of that stuff is water line, and it will just dry out and be hard as a rock and wind up breaking off later on inside your tank. So that's something to look for. Okay, so if you get any debris in your tank after you fill it with gas or getting some water in the areas that you're right in, my advice is to jack the back end of the sled up, get that tank up at an angle like this, hopefully off to one side, and siphon out of the bottom corner here anything that you can get. Of course, drain it into a white pail or something so you can kind of see what comes out. After that, we like to run extra fuel filters. If you put one coming off the tank right here, you'll never get any debris down inside your fuel pump, which is a good thing to have. Okay, the on-off valve that comes from Polaris are usually really plastic and cheap and stiff and hard to move, so we like to go to the metal ones that you can actually just move with your pinky. This would be the 1/4 inch one. Here's a 5/16 line. Once again, just pull it. It's super easy to move. A lot better than the factory ones that came for Polaris. Once you're inside the carburetors, you're going to have a float assembly, and these O-rings right here are really famous for drying out, cracking, going bad, and then fuel leaking past there and filling up your cylinders, or just getting in a rich condition because you're pumping past the actual O-ring rather than through the little dinky needle and seat valve here. It's really important to get all that debris, of course, out of the tank, because if it winds up this far in, it can either hold this valve open or block it entirely, which is starving your engine of fuel. We do sell an aftermarket, slightly thicker than stock O-ring. Requires a little bit of 2-stroke oil to get it on there and put in, but they seem to be lasting quite a bit longer. The next subject with tanks is them yellowing in color. This has to do with the fuel. The vapors actually pass through the plastic over time, and it can wind up staining a tank. If you buy a Polaris tank, they have what's called a complete trail tank kit, and it comes to black bra. If you don't want the black, that's fine. You can vinyl dye it any color you want, which is a lot like spray paint, only it's for more flexible type materials. A lot of guys will take and just cut a long slit across the bottom so that they can see the level of fuel that they have inside the tank. We also sell the LED lighting kits, in red or amber that you can place right down here on the tank, and basically it has the effect of making the entire tank glow, which is really nice at night, and you can see your fuel levels very easily then. When you mount the rear of the tank, we recommend the 2 panhead screws to go in up underneath, and if any studs come flying around on a track that's maybe a little too loose, they'll just go right across that panhead. On the older model of Polaris race sleds, they used a hex head bolt, and you could catch a stud on there as it went around and wind up ripping it right out of your track. That's a pretty expensive mistake. These panhead screws are really inexpensive and easy to stick up in there. Now, once you put fuel into a tank, this tank is actually going to expand, and we've seen them grow as much as 1.25 inches after having fuel in it for a while. So if you have to take one out and then put it back on your sled, don't struggle trying to line the holes back up. Just drill some new holes, and you may have to slot the 2 holes that go in on the side to hold your seat down, just because the whole thing is going to move a little bit. So that's kind of it on fuel tanks. Hit us up if you need one, jspowersports.com. Keep in mind we do have several different options for without any guts or with guts. You can also buy the parts all separately there. And the new 19 and 20 AxysR tanks are shipping now. So let us know if you want one, and we'll get you taken care of. Thank you.